Hi, welcome back. And we're here, yay, with more Japan talks. I'm super excited. So, let's see, we were talking about, oh my God, I just drew
Kurama-dera.
Yeah, thank you, Kurama-dera. See, I was trying to say it all, they all like spiffy. Kurama-dera. Kurama Mountain.
And then last week we had a little break where I did the presentation at the Unitarian Universalist
Church. That was a good one too.
That was fun. We put in quite a few Japan pictures.
And there was a lot of depth to that one with
a lot of my personal history.
Personal things and stuff. But the Japan pictures were in there too, and they were really nice. So.
Yeah, if you want a little backstory,
go to the Insurmountable Odds is what you'd go look for. Yeah, it's really good. So we did Kurama Mountain. We've done, we did the entrance to Kurama. And we talked about varying things that had to do with that. And now you were talking about, we were talking about the gates, right?
Yeah.
The torii gates.
Yes.
That's on.
The torii gates are in a lot of places.
Right. Oh, that's right.
But it got us talking about Fushimi Inari.
Fushimi Inari, that's
the mountain that is known for the torii gates.
Right, because just rows of gates. So
they say there's 1,000 torii gates.
And did you count?
I didn't count. I think I got to maybe 3.
You're like, ooh,
and I thought, wow, look at that tree.
I'm not going to waste my...
There's a cat. Squirrel. Sacred. Entering the sacred.
So let's talk about. So we've shifted mountains. And we're at Fushimi Inari, right?
Yeah.
And so before we get to the mountain, you're on the train.
Right? So coming into that area, the Fushimi Inari is in another area of Kyoto. Okay. So I took the train from the small house that I was staying at, or actually large countryside house, I should say, but in Iwakura. It was wonderful, yes. And so from Iwakura, taking the train across into the Fushimi Inari station, it was one of the fun things that I enjoyed about that. So for those that don't know, fox is my main spirit animal.
She loves foxes.
I love fox, yes. And yes, this actually represents Fushimi Inari. The kitsune is how you would say that in Japanese.
And the kitsune is the
fox.
The fox,
the sacred animal.
Nice.
And so when you come in on the train station, it was just so cute, kawaii. At the station, they had the fox on different signs. So you could see up above, there was a fox on each sign. And then in the middle, I think it said like where you were going or something. And then in the stonework, so Japan is
big
so
one in the bottom,
good.
Right?
Yeah. Japan is so good about all the details. They pay attention to making so many things beautiful and really looking at the details. So as you walk along out of the train station, there's inlaid in the ground this beautiful fox.
Nice.
And it just tells you you're going the right way.
Now this is in Kyoto.
Yes, Kyoto's prefecture.
Oh, okay, which is like a suburb?
That would be like the prefecture is kind of like a state. So like the state of Kyoto.
Okay.
Kyoto City would be not far from, it's at Kyoto City is in Kyoto Prefecture.
Oh, okay. So Kyoto area and then Kyoto City. But so you're not in Kyoto City?
I don't think so.
Okay, you might be, but you're not positive.
I think it's on the outskirts.
But so there's a lot of other things in the area, but this is the one you get off if you're going to be going to this mountain.
Exactly.
Which is why they added all of the details in the right after you get off the train.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So then now you know where you're going. So you come out, and then once you get to the entrance of this amazing mountain, all the temple feeling with all of the gates, what's the first thing you see?
So the first thing you see walking out of the train station, you go around a corner and then you see this enormous torii gate. I have never seen a torii gate this large, and maybe we'll have a picture we can throw up for you guys here, where it is so large and you can see how small the people are underneath it. It was really a wonderful way to set your intention when you walk in, which is one of the things I think it was a constant lesson in Japan, setting our intention for each thing that we do. The torii gates are designed so that on one side is the secular world, and as you walk through it, you're in the sacred. And so with Fushimi Inari, with having 1,000 torii gates, you would be entering deeper and deeper and deeper aspects of the sacred, which we'll get to here in just a little bit. But it felt like having that really big one there was such a great way to stand on one side and think, okay, I'm ready to see what teachings I can learn from this mountain today. What will I discover in the meditations as I go in for forest therapy on this mountain? And walking through very consciously through that torii gate. And it's as though you can just feel these layers of celestial energy that just wash over you. As soon as you walk through that, it just felt like these calm, beautiful rivers of celestial stars and like a soft blanket that enveloped me and pushed me to want to go farther.
To go in.
Yes.
Nice. So and then you go in. Now, a lot of people, we have pictures of the torii gates, but people have seen these gates, and it looks almost like you're inside because there's so many of them. I mean, when you take a picture down the thing, it looks like it's enclosed almost.
Yes, exactly.
And so when you're walking through them, though, I imagine there's space. So there's more to it than that, yes?
Yes, yeah. And it's so interesting because it varies depending on where you are with it. Sometimes they're quite close together, but it's so important to still look out on the other sides. Sometimes they're spaced a little bit farther from each other, and you can really see so clearly all of the forest that is there and the old monuments that are there. There's some hidden statues that are made of stone that are beautiful if you stop and look outside that. And I think I saw so many tourists just rushing up between the gates, not even noticing the incredible stuff that is on the sides. There are many cats as well at Fushimi Inari. Not big cats.
Well, no, real cats.
Yes, like house cats.
Oh, really?
Community cats, exactly. Many. And the fox energy is very similar to cat energy. So it's quite interesting that the cats are so drawn
to that specific mountain.
There had been a charity that was set up that was helping these cats of Fushimi Inari. They often reference the mysterious cats of the Fushimi Inari. And unfortunately with COVID they had to close. So I'm hoping someone can come together with another rescue to help them live their best lives for those that want to live there and help with medical and whatever they need. Until then, send Reiki for any of those that want to. But it was so beautiful and mysterious to see these mysterious kitties. I would only see them when I was there in the evening. I didn't see them in the afternoon. I think they stay a bit more hidden when there's so many tourists walking through.
Cats are naturally nocturnal. So we've proven that you can rotate that if they want to, but our kitties are daytime. And they sleep at night with us, but cats are generally nocturnal.
Exactly. And they like it a little bit quieter. Fushimi Inari was probably one of the most crowded of all the places that I was, outside of Tokyo perhaps.
Well, of course. But as a mountain goes, it was
definitely packed. Wow. There were so many people. There were several times where I was looking to get a shot of inside the torii gates, and it's just lined rows to rows to rows and wall to wall people, like masses. But there would be breaks and pauses.
Of course.
Especially towards the evening. And when I was there when it was raining, that was just absolutely magical. The cats were out when it was a misty rain, and there were less tourists, and we were there after dark as we reached the top of the mountain, which felt like the most sacred of all of that mountain.
Of the entire mountain is like at the top?
At the very top.
At the peak, Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't go all the way up there, sadly.
Oh, really? Interesting. Okay.
It is quite a bit higher than Mount Kurama.
Oh.
And but you can truly feel this shift in energy. I went there 2 different days, and you can feel this deep shift in all these key points where very clearly the energy goes into the the heart of the sacred.
Like the mountain energy itself
Yes.
gets a different mood, which then transpires for everybody involved in being there. Interesting.
Very good way to put that.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And it would sometimes be around like a little curve or as the elevation rose up, and there were different aspects of the mountain. You could feel her like opening, bellowing, and points.
Nice.
Alongside this, so we have all of the red toady gates that many people are familiar with.
Yep.
And then alongside it, when you look out, there's so much greenery. It's so lush and beautiful. And throughout it, different parts, there are many family memorials. And these are where people actually, their remains have been entombed there at these family shrines.
Okay.
And the families will come and visit. Each of the shrines generally have a place for incense and a place for candles. Sometimes people will lay flowers there.
Oh, yeah.
And some of them have many smaller red toady gates on their family shrine.
Oh,
too,
nice.
which is
So
kind of interesting.
That's cool.
And almost all of the family shrines will have kitsune, the fox, one on
nice.
each side.
Oh.
Kind of like we talked about before.
With the entrance with the open mouth and the closed mouth.
Exactly, where they're saying for each of them, because that brings that energy into the memorial that helps carry through for the souls of the loved ones that have gone on.
Nice.
And it was so interesting. Some of them, I know there was one that was so beautiful. It was a larger shrine area, and there were so many candles that were blazing one of the days that I was there.
Nice.
It was just beautiful, and seeing the fox glow in this candlelight. That one had top over the top of it, so it really felt enclosed.
Right, yeah.
And many of them were open areas.
Oh, okay. Nice.
And one of the things that was just amazing as we got to the top of the mountain, so as we were ascending, there was a beautiful lookout spot where you could see over the whole city of Kyoto.
That sounds amazing.
And so I don't know if it would be in Kyoto itself because you could see all of the lights. I'm not sure the city boundaries, how big the city is.
But it's in the area.
You could see the lights, and everything was just absolutely stunning. And then you wonder if you can climb more, and you find a little break, and you realize you can climb more.
Do a little more.
See a little archway of more red toady gates that are at a pretty steep incline at that point, and you realize, yes, you can do it. And so we went through and climbed higher, and then there was another city view it felt like this great reward each time.
Nice.
Because there were parts that were pretty challenging with this hike. There wasn't anything to hold on to on the sides for much of it, so you couldn't get your little whew.
You're not using your arms to help compensate.
It's all legs and lungs. And then as we reached that second lookout point, it was just breathtaking. And it really feels like when we have challenges in life, and sometimes we feel like we're not sure how we can continue on, or we're not sure if we want to continue on, or just give up and turn around back to the familiar.
Is it worth it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then when you push through and you make it, and part of that goal comes in sight, even if it's not the whole thing yet, you just feel that huge, tremendous blessing, the reward, I achieved this. And that's how the lookout points felt.
Nice.
It felt like it was just, wow, there is the horizon. You can see everything comes into view. And especially being in the evening with the city lights twinkling and this gentle mist that was coming down. The sky had a pale purplish blue color to it, and it was just amazing. And that was still not the top. So then we continued to climb up and up and up, and then we had another incredible surprise at the top. It felt like it was getting more and more sacred. As we left that last lookout point on the top, you could feel this, both of us that were walking up there. It was myself and someone from Colombia and somebody from the Netherlands that we were going up together, and you could feel leaving that second lookout point, it just got so sacred again. We were barely talking to each other. We were walking very much in silence as we were feeling the reverence of the mountain calling and opening up. And as you get to the very top, it's just all shrines. It is the memorials of all of, and they're ancient ones. They're very old stone memorials. And they built them so they get higher and higher. They're all almost on top of each other, really, and kind of stacked.
Like the toady gates.
And these like zigzagging paths. So it was almost like a maze of walking through the family shrines and some narrow pathways in the dark. And it was tremendous. I had brought candles to give as offerings during wherever we felt
wherever
like
we ended up. Yeah,
and so we definitely used a few of the candles up there and offered Reiki to the souls of those that had passed on and their families that come here to honor them. And you could see where people had left recent things onto the, for some of them. And it was just amazing. I'll always remember, I think, a couple of them at the very top that were in the middle of a lot of these others, and they were just so tall, reaching up to the stars, it seemed like, and such a deep, sacred sense that was there. Very, very peaceful.
Now, were these the people that, now you had said when you were earlier, you were talking about forest bathing. Is that what you were going up with them for?
No, that time we were just exploring the mountains. So I kind of jumped ahead a little bit with that first ascent all the way to the top. That was the day we talked about in the previous live talk, just barely touching on it, where I gave myself 1 day of sightseeing.
Oh, that was your sightseeing
during the 33 days that I was there. Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, so we went, we did a couple of things earlier in the day, and then climbed the mountain, and then visited Gion afterwards.
Nice.
And it was just amazing. But then I did return to that. Gion is the geisha district.
Okay, that's what I was,
And the second time that I returned
back
to the mountain was for forest bathing.
Now, was that the evening one, or was the evening one when you were saying it was getting evening?
That's when I climbed all the way to the top with the two girls. It was in the evening, and it started raining, and it was just magically beautiful.
Nice.
So
with
spiritual. Exactly.
Nice.
That was exactly.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, so then the second time.
And one of the things that I noticed with that I didn't have the memory, the puzzle solved until the second time.
Okay.
So as we were climbing up the toady gates, we noticed that some of them were these very ancient looking stone gates, and the others were red toady gates that people are often familiar with. And some of them looked to be painted with a very glossy new paint, and some had been worn red paint. And they were varying sizes. Some were close together, and then there were certain areas where they were spaced apart a little bit, and they were all bright orange kind of walking up. But then when you turn around to walk back, there was this mysterious kanji that was on both sides. There was kanji that was written in black all down the left side, and then there was some of it that I could recognize a little bit more. I knew there were more numbers, certainly on the right side, and I had stopped to read some of the kanji, but it was a bit difficult. I'm not great with kanji yet, and I was trying to figure out. It seemed like there were numbers or addresses or something that were on the right side, but I wasn't sure. And how did this, correlate to this mysterious looking?
Now you were saying that was when you were coming down.
When you come down, that's when you see all the lettering, and and a lot of times people wonder, like, is this an affirmation, or their special wisdom, ancient wisdom that's been written on these, and on the stone gates as well. The big stone gates, it would have engraved on it the kanji on both sides. And so then the second time, go ahead with, you were saying the second time that I came up, and we'll come back into what that is.
Okay. Okay. So the second time you were talking about forest bathing. Mm-hmm. So where did you do forest bathing, and did you have to get naked to do it, or how does this work exactly?
Shinden-yoku would be the Japanese term for forest bathing. Shinden-yoku. And this I actually connected with a Buddhist monk that I had met through Airbnb.
So you bathed with a monk. Nice.
I did, and a small group of us. It was quite incredible, with the trees, of course.
Of course.
I'm sure everyone has images now.
Now I do.
And so I had connected with him. He does chanting and meditation online. If anybody wants to do that through Airbnb, which is kind of a really nice partnership.
Through Airbnb, yeah.
And then through COVID, I had connected with him a few times. He had worked with a harpist and at one point and a cellist at one point to do live music, multiple types of meditation that he leads.
Nice.
And when I let him know that I was going to be coming to Japan, he invited me to come as his guest. And so it was really nice. Kuniyatsu is his name.
Nice.
And if anyone's interested in his meditations, just let us know and I'll connect you. He's in California right now.
If we can, I'll add the link, the Airbnb link, in the description below.
Okay.
On the video.
All right.
If we can find that.
Yeah, we'll try and figure it out.
If we can find it, it will be there.
Perfect. Yeah, no, we can connect that with his page there. And currently he's in California. He came, someone sponsored him to come to the States.
Nice.
And so it was really nice connecting with him there. He leads a forest bathing trip once a month. Forest bathing is something that has been really popular in Japan, and it was in about the 1980s that it started to really emerge. And in Japan, doctors will actually prescribe forest bathing as a medical an important medical practice that they have people do, like a prescription for forest bathing.
Okay, so like take 2 forest baths and call me in the morning, sort of a thing.
Sort of.
Okay.
And this all started, let's see, we'll come back to 1928 and where there's some science that backs up part of this now as well that is interesting with a Russian scientist. But in the 1980s is when there was really a movement that started to come around recognizing that things like depression is a true medical issue. Before that, I think there was a lot of shame for feeling depressed or anxious or overworked, overstressed.
It's just
was
deal with
down
it.
Upon.
They were like, just deal with it, and they didn't realize that switch can turn on and not ever turn off for somebody.
Yes.
And that's something that people need.
And there are things that can be done to help it as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so through that,
Let me guess. Forest bathing can help?
Forest bathing can help. Through all of that in the 80s, there were a lot of techniques that came in. And throughout Russia, Ukraine, Japan, Korea, and some other areas in that region, forest bathing has become very popular as a medical recommendation.
Okay.
And one of the ones that really has helped spearhead some of this is Dr. King Lee. He's a medical director at the Nippon Medical School in Tokyo, and he's also president of the Society of Forest Medicine and the author of Forest Bathing, How Trees Can Help You Find Health and Happiness.
Interesting.
And he estimates that about 93% of our time, on average, is spent indoors. And I can kind of see that when I think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when we're not designed to always be indoors.
Yeah.
And the plant medicine is so helpful, simply from an easy point of recognizing how much oxygen the trees produce.
Right,
taking carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. Converting it into oxygen
for us to breathe.
And then the more you get into the middle of a forest, you're breathing really fresh air. You can smell the crispness of the air. You're getting away from the pollution. You're getting away from the noise of traffic in the urban cities.
The stress, the feeling of stress. I mean, being in a city all by itself. Exactly. Just the hustle and bustle of the people is stress.
Exactly. And in the city, we're surrounded by so much influence. We're surrounded by digital billboards that are flashing at us and all kinds of different
cars honking, alarms going off, people yelling at each other.
Exactly. And those things raise our blood pressure. They raise our anxiety. Through those processes and other effects it has on us, it lowers our immunity and we get sick. And it is amazing how much benefit you can get from just spending a few hours in the forest every month. Or maybe every week, an hour or two in the forest.
Now, you were saying just the oxygen. There was another thing that you had said about that the plants actually a chemical that can help us.
Yes, the phytoncides. So this was discovered in 1928 with in Leningrad. Dr. Boris Tokin, he went to Leningrad University, and he noticed that plants were emitting different substances. When an insect starts to chew on a plant, it needs to heal itself. As the monk that I had spent time with, he said that we as people, when we get injured, we can go somewhere and get help. We go to our first aid kit, we go to a clinic, our natural pharmacy, rinse it off, whatever we need to do.
We go to water.
We go and we fix it. But trees can't run somewhere else. Plants can't go anywhere, and the insects come to them. And so if there's something like something from an insect or a microbe or a bacteria,
or fungus or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, that starts to grow on it, that tree needs to be able to protect itself. And they all, many trees and plants have these phytoncides that they are able to emit,
create.
And they're different. Each one is different. So the phytoncide from a cedar tree, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. I meant to look up the pronunciation.
That's right.
And but the cedar tree produces a different type than what the pine tree produces, which is a different type from a garlic. A lot of the herbs have the same thing, garlic.
Which then those would also react differently when we're around them.
Exactly.
Depending on what our body would react differently with different chemicals applied to it.
Exactly. And there are a lot of medicines that are actually derived from these plant phytoncides. A lot of our modern medicine, veterinary medicine, all use this. And when you look at it from the energetic standpoint, if you think about it, when you are in a room with somebody and their energy is very low, you feel the energy on their biofield. It might make you feel a little more low. Or if your energy is really high, then you being in that same room, automatically they have the ability to heal a bit easier because of your high vibration. If your vibration is high enough, yours won't come down because of them. Right. And the trees act as these same health boosters for us. When a tree has been injured and you see the scar that is on a tree, or you can see where the insects have borne in and the tree has healed over it, that tree has been emitting this phytoncide, which also impacts the biofield of the tree, or the aura, one could say, of the tree. And when you encounter that as you're walking in the forest and as you're forest bathing, really mindfully paying attention, spending time with that tree. We'll get into what you can do for forest bathing. But really spending some time with the trees and simply walking through a forest full of trees that have learned to protect themselves, you're receiving the vibrations that are emitting from the tree's biofield, and it's impacting your own human biofield, allowing this greater sense of balance and health to come in. Nice. All health is really about balance. So it's about bringing that balance in. As the trees have balanced themselves, it sends those codes so that we remember within ourselves we have the ability to balance in ourselves as well, and the health comes.
And I'm sure that we have a memory of when we used to not live in homes, when we used to live outside, and we used to live
our genetic
all of our genetics that come from where we reacted more like the animals we are than we seem to now.
Yes.
And so that would make sense that we would react to that. Going back to that.
Exactly. And even in more just recent past, when you think about our generation being born in the 70s, a lot of us as children were playing outside.
Yeah, of course.
And since the advent of video games, it seems children, TV and video, the priority on that has grown in families so much. Yeah. And children aren't playing outside like they used to. Yeah. The generation before us was outside even more than we were. Yeah. And we're losing touch with that. And we need to bring ourselves back. We need to teach our children how to get outside again and how good it feels to be outside. We need to pull out of our offices. And, now people can work from home. Maybe you want to think about setting up an outdoor office in your backyard. That's a good idea. And really spend that extra time with the trees and with the plants. Nice. So do we
do you want to talk more about that? Or
Sure. What is forest bathing?
Yes.
So there are many ways to do that. So you don't have to hike a mountain. You don't have to go running down a trail. I enjoyed that a lot. I'd be happy to go back. I actually plan to do that when it gets a little cooler around here. Again, I need to do that.
Start hitting a mountain.
Exactly, because it just feels so good. And when you put in that extra effort of working your way up, it really, you feel the reward in your body. And that, of course, has its own health benefits.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do that. You can go to a nearby park. You can go to your own backyard. If you're fortunate enough, maybe you have an amazing garden in your backyard that you can just go sit and spend some time in and enjoy. And doing it mindfully where you're not stressing about all the things in your life
you need to do,
but you just let yourself relax, let yourself enjoy. If there's something you need to work out in your mind, maybe you do have a problem you're trying to figure out, it is an amazing technique to go out in nature, let yourself think about it for a moment, and then let yourself just sit with the trees. And very likely the solution that you need, the perspective that you need is going to come to you while you're spending time in the forest. Take a blanket with yourself, set it down on the ground. You can do some very mindful things, or you can just enjoy your time there.
Just exist.
Sometimes I like making mandalas in the forest, drawing a mandala out with trees, limbs and leaves and twigs and whatever you find around there. It can be a beautiful way to leave an offering to the forest as a thank you for the energy that you've received, the healing that you've received. When I went with the monk that I spent some time with that day, we did several different types of meditation. And you can do whatever meditation works for you, whatever you enjoy. But we did a few different ones. We had a very nice walk going in and paying attention to just all the things that were around us. Again, as I mentioned, people walking through the torii gates only looking straight ahead. Instead, look to the side. What is around you?
Mindful.
Don't just look at the trail that you're walking down. Look at the trees on the side. Look at the leaves on the ground. Notice how it sounds to hear the birds singing. And notice what kinds of birds do you see up in the sky. Get yourself looking up instead of just looking down. We look down at our phones so much. We need to look up a lot more, which sends signals into your brain and all kinds of things. It's also very good just looking up. But so a couple meditations, and we'll probably go back to teaching more meditation styles as we round out the Japan videos.
Yeah, nice.
But one of the meditations we did was simply a counting down meditation. So he had an instrument that he used that would click, and basically with each click you kept counting down from 10 all the way down to 1 or
like
to 0.
Like we did on our beginner meditation.
Exactly.
Nice.
Exactly. And if you lost count, then you would just restart and restart and restart. And then we did it where we counted up and to see however far you got up. But if you lost count, then you could just start over. If you had another thought that came in, you would just start over again and just observing how far do you get with that. And then we did some chanting meditation. And as you know, I'm a big fan of chanting.
Love chanting.
Chanting raises your vibration so easily because the vibration of your voice when you're chanting, you really feel it in your chest. You feel it in your solar plexus. You feel it in your soul. And you can get lost in chanting. And there's a beautiful chant that honors the spirit of the mountain there too. So we chanted that for, I think, 20 minutes or so. I think we did each meditation for 20 minutes.
Nice.
And so those were some of the meditations that we did. And then just really enjoying the space. There was this, we went away from the torii gates to meditate. We split off from the torii gates and went down this little hidden trail that I think a lot of people don't even recognize as there. We didn't really see people along that way as we walked. There was a beautiful bridge that we passed, and then there was an old temple building. And we walked behind this old temple building and sat on the, I don't know if you'd say balcony or the porch. kind of walked up to it and your legs hung off the edge and the earth was a bit below you. It was so wonderful.
Nice.
Perfect place to just go and meditate, facing a wall of trees that were reaching up to the sky. It was just
heaven almost.
It felt like that. Yes, this
Nice.
blue sky. And it was just gorgeous.
Amazing.
And the temple gave us a little shade, and it was just absolutely wonderful.
Nice.
The things that when you look out, when you seek out things to nourish your soul, to fill your soul, you can find incredible wonders and incredible joys. Just as we found that hidden spot, I think the monk knew about, I felt like I kept discovering these places on Kurama-dera too, where it was all these hidden areas, which we'll come back to that later in a future talk.
So we go into the torii gates, pay attention to the amazing things around it. You get a chance to do some forest bathing, unfortunately clothed. And then
I suppose if you're in a more private area, it's your option.
You don't have to, though. That's nice.
Check your municipal laws.
Don't get in trouble. And so then you were coming down. And so then we're coming down, and you were talking about the torii gate. So on the way in, it's just red. You were saying, right?
Yes.
So the one side. So as you enter and you see all the gates, there's just red poles with. I mean, they're beautiful, but there's nothing.
There wasn't all the black lettering.
So then once you get up, and then as you're coming back down, all of a sudden this lettering pops out at you.
Yes, and it was fascinating because we saw the etching on the old stone gates and the black lettering on the orange or red gates.
Oh, and there was etching on the okay. All the lettering and stuff suddenly is there.
And I asked the monk that was guiding us, I asked him what that meant for different things going up. I asked him to help me be able to translate the family memorial, so I learned to do that. The torii gates. And I asked him about how old the torii gates were, because I found it interesting. There weren't a whole lot of the stone gates. There were a few going all the way to the top. They were very old. And then so many of these other ones seemed really new.
Oh, you were saying some had super shiny paint, and some were still a nice paint, but a little more matted, worn.
You could see a little of the wood grain underneath.
Okay.
So I asked him, and he said, well, that's a really interesting thing, because about 30 years ago, there weren't very many torii gates. It was not known for being the mountain of the 1,000 torii gates.
What?
There were some stone gates.
Yeah.
And then around 30 years ago, they were starting to put in, some people had donated.
30 years ago. 90s?
Mm-hmm. Crazy, right?
What?
Right.
Okay, so 1990. Yeah.
Yes, and so most torii gates, even the old stone ones, were donated by somebody. So when we talk about Tiny Eye, Usui Sensei, a year after his enlightenment, he wanted to give back to the city where he was born, so he donated this big, beautiful torii gate. Big stone one.
Nice.
And the same thing with Fushimi Inari. People had been donating those.
Oh, so like the people that had the memorials up top and stuff like that.
They might have been some of the ones that had donated.
Some of the big stone.
Yes,
Okay.
Exactly.
I see.
And 30 years ago, there were more people that had started donating these torii gates again. And that's around the time Instagram came out. And people started posting pictures of Fushimi Inari, this amazing mountain in Japan, and the beautiful scenery and this bright red orange torii gates going up. And the mountain is known for bringing wealth to people. If you spend time, if you meditate there, if you donate there, it's said to be very prosperous for business and financial wealth. And so people had started donating more, and once it started to take off on Instagram and people were showing their pictures with these torii gates, companies were saying, I want to get in on that, which takes us right in.
What?
Yes. And all of a sudden, over the last 30 years, there are like 1,000
torii gates.
While I was there, a new torii gate had just been erected, and I watched them painting the lettering on the torii gate.
Oh my God!
There was a large crowd of us that were watching as this very skillfully painted.
Yeah.
And so that brings us to, what is the sacred lettering?
So
what
what's
is
on
this
the back of the
beautiful?
toady gate?
Do people, when they donate it, do
Yeah.
they think of whatever wisdom they
Right,
had
yeah,
that
yeah,
they
yeah.
wanted to
Has to be,
bestow
yeah.
on people? So we'll be there for a long time. The
course.
stone gates have this as well.
Yeah.
It's the company's name on the left side and their phone number or address on the right.
So the wisdom of the universe is eat at Joe's. We are at 12:15 Mark Way. Please come eat with us.
I translated one that was a television company ad.
KBC, we love your business. Really?
Yes,
All of that. Oh my God, that is so funny.
Fascinating.
Fascinating,
right?
yeah,
And so
yeah.
every day there are more and more and more. And space is filling up, so it's at a premium now.
Oh, so now, to donate, you're gonna have to dig deep.
Fascinating.
That's amazing.
And
So, okay.
yeah, it was really interesting. And then on Kurama-dera, I had spent quite a long period of time trying to figure out what is this kanji that is under the lights, because they had that same orange-red color on these lanterns that go all the way up the mountain.
Yeah.
What beautiful spiritual wisdom is here.
Yeah.
So I spent quite a bit of time, and I started noticing it seems like there's a lot of addresses and phone numbers on all of these.
Same thing.
And it was after I translated that I found out about the toady gates. Absolutely the same thing.
Well, you got to market somewhere, right?
Exactly.
And that's, hey, you got to market
And
somewhere.
what a great way to, then you can play with your company. Spot our toady gates and all of the Instagram photos and YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's so fun. Wow, that's amazing. So, well, that's an amazing story. And so one more mountain down, right?
Yes, Fushimi Inari was amazing.
That sounds amazing.
I think we should do a meditation maybe coming up soon with Fushimi Inari. Maybe we'll take people climbing up. Now that you've seen some pictures in this video, we'll walk you through to that sacred space on the top, the lookout points, and see what journeys we can open up for you.
Well, if you like this video, hit like, please, and I hope you enjoyed. And
if you want to keep watching our Japan series, we're doing an ongoing journey of the 33 days that I was in Japan.
Absolutely. We'll probably do 33 videos.
I don't know if we'll do that. But please hit the subscribe button.
Absolutely.
We really appreciate each of you.
Absolutely. And go to our website, earthandskycenter.com, and we will see you next week.
Have a great week, everyone.